Phones, phones, phones. Everybody has them and everybody uses them. And today I'm going to be talking about a biography drama film called Blackberry. But is the film any good and should you be checking it out? Well, stick around and let's talk about it. Blackberry is the story of the rise and catastrophic demise of the world's first smartphone. The film stars Baruchel, Glenn Howerton, Matt Johnson, Kelly Vanderberg, and many others, and was directed by Matt Johnson, and I have never heard of any of the films he's directed before. Blackberry is another film where we have a product that made it big, and we now have a biography drama film about said product. Now, I was very intrigued by this movie because we all use phones, and I was really interested to see how they actually made the first phone and just the dynamic of how it actually went down. I didn't watch a trailer going into this film, but I've heard that this film has been getting excellent reviews, so I really wanted to check it out. It came out in a crowded week back in May, and now I'm just now getting around to it. It is on VOD to check out. I did not own a Blackberry phone growing up. I did have a Nokia phone, I remember, and that was one where you had to actually press the numbers to actually get the different letters, and it took forever to text. I look back on that now with the iPhone, and man, we were doing some really extra work back then. I never had a pager, but I remember my dad actually had a pager for work, and they do touch on that in this film. And, you know, you look back on some of the things that they actually mention in this film, and you're like, wow, it's just so dated. Like, how do we even function back then? But those were like the faster options we had to send messages and make phone calls. And I thought that that was really interesting about this film. You basically have these inventors of the BlackBerry making these different phones. And in the beginning of this film, you see a bunch of geeks that are just kind of hanging out at this company. And they apparently have this deal with some other company, and they try to pitch it to another company to buy up their phones. And they apparently have this sponsorship with this other place that is supposedly giving them $16 million, which they're not even seeing. And in turn, this guy actually turns them down because he pretty much hates their proposal. They're just two geeks trying to actually make it and, you know, just kind of sell their product out there and put it out there and be the next big thing, as phones weren't a big deal then in the time frame. Once this is actually pitched and he hates their idea, he actually gets fired from that said company, and he actually joins their company as the CEO, and he really gets the foundation for them and gets them into bigger places and gets them really rolling. And you actually get to see the different ideas on how they actually made this phone, what actually makes the clicking sound, how they get the buttons, all the dynamics to the phone. And I really did appreciate that we actually get to see that insight within the phone, and just seeing how geeks' minds work and how they actually come up with these ideas. Baruchel plays a character named Mike, and he's very resistant to actually put up a fight towards business. He doesn't have a good hand in knowing how to do business. And when Jim, played by Glenn Howerton, actually comes into the picture, he really helps him actually get a foot forward and actually know how to do business and not be so scared to actually put his neck out there and actually know how to conduct business. And throughout this film, you see Jim hire all these different individuals like technicians and engineers and different people within other companies, and bringing them into this company to make BlackBerry be a bigger deal. Throughout this film, though, you do see the struggles within the employees. At first, when Jim actually goes into the company and he's trying to figure out what's going on, they don't even have any money to pay their employees. They don't have that sponsorship. And Jim, he has to actually put his house on the line to actually pay the employees and get a loan. And he's bringing all these different people on board as well. And you see the struggles that they have making the prototype for the BlackBerry. They just want everything to be really perfect. And Jim, he wants them to rush doing these prototypes. And you see these geeky guys just not really getting into gear. They're not organized. When they first go to this meeting and they're trying to pitch their idea, they don't even have the prototype phone with them, and they have to actually try to convince these different executives to actually buy on to their idea. You also see Apple come into the picture here and how that actually shows the destroying of BlackBerry as a whole. And you also see the different fundamentals with certain materials and the production of these phones failing, and just different things that I didn't even know about, especially with the BlackBerry, where the phones are just completely not made properly. And it's very interesting to see the manufacturing that really goes into these phones and just the dynamics that makes everything click, because you don't realize how much work goes into making a phone. And back then, obviously, they didn't have the materials as much as we do now and the technology. So just seeing a phone for the first time, and definitely all the hard work that goes into it, it's very appreciated from my side. Glenn Howerton playing Jim. Now, even though he is this main macho guy that really gets the company really going and get their footing in gear, and he's hiring all these different people, he's also a really big asshole. At any given time, he's blowing his gasket, getting mad at these people and telling them to hurry up and F off and all kinds of things that he's saying to these employees, and they're not used to that. But I also think with him getting those characters into gear, he makes some decisions that aren't very good, and it definitely hinders the company from getting a little bit bigger, but also some of his decisions make the company bigger as well. So he's kind of a half and half kind of character, because he does some things well and then he does some other things that really hold the company back in certain aspects of the film. You also see the downfalls of business, and you see Mike really get on to his friend Doug, who is just always complaining about Jim actually implementing new ideas. And I think that's the hardest part, as when you're starting up a company, somebody else comes in and they run a little bit different than how you would want it to run. But at the same time, if you're not getting anywhere, you need that person to bring in fresh ideas. And with Doug, he really struggles to really find that just positivity in the fact that Jim is here trying to make the company better. And you see in this where Mike, he just tells Doug that he's completely useless and he has nothing to really add to the company. And that's kind of the hardest part of business. You can go into business with friends and they may not be pulling their weight, and they may not be very much wanting to change or having different ideas implemented or having other input. And when somebody actually takes over and they don't have that input like they did before, and they're changing all this stuff, they're very reluctant to change. And Doug's character is definitely reluctant to change here. The film is also filmed in a documentary type style. If you've ever watched The Office and how that is filmed, it's filmed in that style. And I would say I was a little bit disappointed in the style that they wanted to go with this, because I felt like it cheapened it a little bit, but I still was okay kind of getting used to it throughout the film, because I definitely was thinking with that filming style it's going to be kind of a comedy-ish kind of film. And it definitely isn't comedy. It definitely has a serious tone to it, and it's a film that definitely shows progress within a company and just the struggles within the company, the rise and the fall, and just all the hard work that goes into a company. As far as the score for this film, I would give it a 4 out of 5. I think it was an excellent film. Little nitpicky things here and there that, with the filming that I wanted them to maybe change up a little bit within the filming, but I think overall it was a solid film. And the other negative that I will say, which obviously isn't into the film as much, but they only made this film on DVD. I don't know why they didn't make a Blu-ray. I understand maybe not a 4K for this kind of film, but they didn't even make a Blu-ray for this film. And I haven't even seen the DVD in stores. So if I want to pick up a copy of this, it's only on DVD, and I probably would have to order it. So that's a con as well, but obviously not directed towards the movie as a whole, and enjoyment obviously of it. However, I would like to know, what did you guys think about Blackberry? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you just think it was kind of meh? Did you learn anything new? I definitely learned new stuff about Blackberry and just phones in general, and I was really intrigued with how this story actually ended up unfolding. And it was a really solid movie, and definitely is one of my top movies of the year for sure. But thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys on my next review.